The air in the car was heavy that night. No music, no GPS voice. Just the hum of the engine and the sound of my fingers drumming the leather steering wheel, tighter and tighter until the knuckles threatened to split. Madison had texted me an hour earlier. Said she'd be late. Running behind, she wrote. Just those 2 words. No apology, no explanation. I knew what she meant. I'd been playing dumb for 3 weeks, letting the lies float past me like dust particles in sunlight, obvious but somehow untouchable. She was cheating. Not probably. Not maybe. She was, and I was just waiting for her to admit it. The days leading up to that drive had been full of weird silences and half-truths. Madison had started dressing like she was going to war. Heels that clacked like gunfire, lipstick the color of betrayal, and a perfume that didn't belong to her. It was too floral, too strong. She hated strong scents, said they gave her migraines. But this one stuck to her like a damn signature. A scent that announced, "I'm not yours anymore." I caught her once, standing in the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, whispering like a teenager sneaking a call past bedtime. When I stepped closer, she turned fast, gave me a smile too quick to be real, and shoved the phone into her purse like it burned her. I asked who it was. She said it was her boss, then laughed and said, "Relax, you're not being replaced," then walked away before I could even respond. Replaced. The word echoed in my head like a cough in a quiet church. So that night I drove. Not aimlessly. I knew where she was. I'd seen the name Brent pop up in her phone once. Just once. That's all it took. She claimed he was a coworker. "We're on a team project," she said. Brushing her curls out of her face like that made the lie softer. I parked across from the Hyatt downtown. Nothing fancy but not cheap either. A place you take someone when you want to feel like the rules don't apply to you. When you want to cheat but also feel important about it. I sat there in silence, staring at the glass doors, watching every couple walk in, watching for that moment. It was 10:47 when I saw her. She came out, her coat too light for the weather, heels clicking, laughing at something the man next to her said. He touched her back. She let him. He leaned in. She leaned closer. And then they kissed, right there under the hotel's yellow lights like it was the most normal thing in the world. Like 7 years of marriage didn't exist. Like I didn't exist. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't yell or run up or make a scene. I just sat there and watched the pieces fall. By the time she got home, I was already back, sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open and a cup of coffee gone cold. She walked in, dropped her purse, took off her shoes, and started to walk past me. I said, "Where were you?" She froze mid-step. "Late meeting," she replied automatically. I looked at her, just stared. "Hyatt must be a hell of a meeting room," I said. Silence. Long enough to hurt. She turned, slowly, like someone shifting into a confession they weren't ready to give. But her face didn't crumble. She didn't cry. She didn't even look ashamed. "All right," she said. "So you know." That was it. That's all she said. I asked her how long. She shrugged, like it was a weather report. "Couple months, maybe more." I asked who he was. She smiled. "Brent. You'd hate him." I felt my body go hollow, like someone scooped out everything soft inside me and left a mannequin in my place. I said, "You said you loved me." She raised an eyebrow. "That was a long time ago." I said, "You said you'd never lie to me." She crossed her arms. People say all kinds of things when they're comfortable. I stood up, walked past her to the front door. My keys were still in my hand. I hadn't even noticed. She said, "I'll call you later." And I said, "No need. This was your last call." Then I walked out. I didn't go far that night. Just drove until the city lights thinned out and the road got dark enough to hide my face from myself. I pulled over by some construction site, empty skeletal frames of houses that hadn't become homes yet, and sat there. Radio off, engine running. The silence wasn't quiet. It buzzed. It crawled up the walls of my skull and settled behind my eyes. What do you even do when something like that happens? You think you'll cry. You think you'll scream. But I didn't do either. I just sat there with her voice echoing in my head. That was a long time ago, like everything we shared. The mornings, the jokes, the fights, the stupid little notes we used to leave each other on the fridge, was a page she'd torn out and thrown away. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror for what felt like hours. I looked like a man who'd lost a bet with the universe. I sunk in, face drawn. I looked like my own ghost. Eventually, my phone lit up. Madison. She was calling. I let it ring. Then came the text, "We should talk when you're ready." I didn't want it to go this way. I stared at that message like it was written in another language. Didn't want it to go this way? She chose this. She made the calls, planned the nights, wore the dress, took the elevator, opened the door. She had every exit ramp and she stayed on the highway. The next day, I stayed at my brother Joel's place. Didn't even have to explain much. He opened the door, took one look at me, and said, "Madison?" I nodded, and that was that. He handed me a beer and let me sit on his worn-out couch like a statue. Joel's got this way of talking where he doesn't ask things outright, he just lets the silence make room. After an hour or so, I broke. "I saw her at the Hyatt," I said. "With some guy. Brent." They kissed like I never existed. Joel didn't say anything for a while. Then, "She's a ing coward." And she was. It wasn't just that she cheated. It was how she did it. The lies weren't even clever. The alibis were lazy. She didn't bother covering her tracks because she stopped seeing me as someone worth lying to well before I found out. That next evening, I went back to the house. I didn't text. Didn't warn her. She was on the couch wearing my hoodie, the navy one she always stole when it got cold. The nerve of it nearly made me laugh. Like throwing gasoline on the ashes. She looked up. "I didn't think you'd come back." I said, "I didn't come back. I came to get my things." She stood, crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic." I stared at her. "You blew up our marriage and I'm being dramatic?" She rolled her eyes. Rolled her eyes. "You're acting like I stabbed you. People fall out of love, Ethan. It happens." "No," I said, "you climbed out of love. Carefully. Quietly. And then landed in someone else's bed." She flinched. First time I saw any crack. I packed in silence. Took my clothes, a few photos I wasn't ready to destroy yet, and the toolbox my dad gave me. Left everything else. Left the bed. The TV. The chair we picked out together. All of it felt like poison now. When I walked out, she didn't follow. Didn't say goodbye. Just like that, 7 years ended in a door click. And I haven't heard her voice since. It's funny the things you miss when everything falls apart. Not the big things, not anniversaries, vacations, or candlelit dinners. No, those become hollow in retrospect. You start remembering the in-betweens. The way she used to hand me a mug of coffee while brushing her teeth. The faint hum she made while scrolling through recipes she'd never cook. The way she curled her legs under herself on the couch when she was trying to make a hard conversation softer. I kept waiting for grief to feel like a punch. Something sharp. Something violent. But it was quieter than that. It came like dust, settling on everything slowly until even breathing felt like inhaling loss. 3 days after I left, Madison's sister, Carrie, messaged me. She said, "I don't want to get in the middle, but just so you know, this isn't Brent's first affair." Maddie knew. She saw what he did to his last girlfriend. I stared at my phone, rereading that sentence over and over until the screen went blurry. She knew. So this wasn't some whirlwind, swept off her feet kind of thing. It wasn't some accidental spark that grew out of control. It was deliberate. Calculated. She walked into fire and thought she'd stay clean. I didn't respond to Carrie. What could I say? The next morning, I got a call from Madison's number. I almost didn't answer. But I did. She started without a hello. "You're telling people?" My sister texted me. I waited a beat. She reached out to me. "I'm asking you to respect my privacy." That did it. I laughed. Laughed so hard I had to sit down. "Your privacy? You burned our life down and want a velvet rope around the wreckage." Her voice sharpened. "We can't fix anything if you're going to be petty." "Oh, we're trying to fix something now?" I asked. I thought this was just an oops, love dies, Brent's mouth is magic situation. She hung up. Just like that. 2 hours later, an email hit my inbox. Subject line, "Let's talk like adults." A whole paragraph where she tried to paint it like we both drifted, that it wasn't anyone's fault, and maybe this can be a chance for both of us to grow. Grow? Grow from what? The ashes of her deception? That night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I sat down and wrote everything out. Not a letter to her. Not a diary entry. Just a purge. Every word I couldn't say. Every insult I swallowed. Every betrayal I replayed. And I ended it with, "You didn't just break us. You broke the version of me that trusted blindly. And that guy? He's not coming back." I printed it, folded it, burned it in a metal bowl behind Joel's garage. And then I slept. Really slept. For the first time since the Hyatt. It wasn't healing. Not yet. But it was the first step. 2 weeks after I left the house, Joel handed me an envelope. It was thick. Formal. My name printed in clean, expensive lettering across the front. Inside was divorce paperwork. No warning. No conversation. No phone call. Just cold, legal detachment. Filed by Madison. No note, no explanation, just a sticky tab on the signature line like I was signing for a UPS package, not the end of our marriage. That hit me harder than any hotel kiss ever could. The affair, the lies, the contempt, it all boiled down to this one final move: make it tidy. Make it fast. Make it like it never happened. Joel looked at me while I held the papers like they might burn. "You all right?" I didn't answer. I was too busy trying to wrap my head around how someone could unravel a shared life like it was old wrapping paper. Later that night, I sat on the balcony with a pen in my hand and the envelope in my lap. I couldn't sign it. Not because I wanted her back, I didn't, but because it felt like she had written the ending her way. Like this whole story got hijacked and turned into a one-woman play where I didn't even get a line in the final act. I needed answers. So I called her. She answered, sounding annoyed, like she was expecting a client, not a husband of 7 years. "You filed." "I figured it was time," she said, her voice flat. "Why drag it out?" "Because it mattered," I said. "Because we mattered. Or at least I thought we did." She sighed. "Ethan, you're being sentimental. It's just paper." "No," I said. "It's the burial certificate for everything we were." She was quiet. "Then, you want closure? Fine. I stopped loving you a long time ago. You were predictable. Boring. I needed more." Those words carved something open in me. I stayed silent for a second too long, and she continued, her voice sharper, like she'd been waiting to unload it. "You were safe. But safe doesn't keep you warm forever. I should have ended the call. Should have walked away. But instead, I said, and Brent? He's warm." She laughed. "Brent excites me. He doesn't just exist beside me. He wants me." I didn't respond. Didn't need to. She said one last thing before hanging up. "Sign the papers, Ethan. It's just easier for both of us." Click. That night, I signed the papers. Not out of agreement. Not out of peace. I signed them because I finally understood. I'd been trying to revive a body that was already cold. I folded them, sealed the envelope, and dropped it in the mailbox the next morning. It felt like dropping a weight I'd been carrying so long I forgot how it felt not to. But as the red flag went up on that mailbox, something else rose with it, a flicker of something like freedom. She ended it on her terms. But I would heal on mine. You never realize how many things you shared with someone until you try to live without them. I don't mean the stuff, the furniture, the streaming passwords, or the houseplants that only she knew how to keep alive. I mean the muscle memory. Waking up and instinctively reaching across the bed. Pulling into the driveway and looking for her car. Cooking too much food. Turning to make a joke and remembering there's no one there to laugh. After the divorce papers were sent, the silence got louder. My phone stopped buzzing. Her name stopped showing up in notifications. I stopped expecting it to. It was weirdly peaceful. Until she texted me again. Out of nowhere. "We should talk. About the storage unit." Storage unit. Right? We had one downtown with all our off-season clothes, old photos, Christmas junk. I forgot it even existed. I didn't want to meet. Didn't want to see her face. But there was a key only I had, and she wanted her sentimental stuff. I told her I'd drop it off. She insisted we go together. "I just want to go through it once." "Be civil," she wrote. Civil. That word felt like a slap from a velvet glove. We met the next Saturday, mid-morning, in the parking lot. She pulled up in a new car. Silver Lexus. Too clean. Too sharp. Like she wanted to show off just how little she'd unraveled. She stepped out wearing sunglasses, hair done, makeup perfect. I wore a hoodie and jeans that didn't quite fit right anymore. "Hey," she said like we were meeting for coffee. I handed her the key without a word and walked ahead to unlock the unit. The metal door screeched open like it was resisting what was coming. Inside were boxes stacked like memories in cardboard. Photos, winter gear, old college crap, holiday decor. She moved toward the boxes like she was picking through a yard sale. Detached. Efficient. I stood in the back, arms crossed. She opened one labeled photo albums. Pulled out a leather-bound book. Flipped it open. I saw her face falter for a moment. Just a flicker. Her hand hesitated over a photo of us, younger, dumber, happier. Her in that yellow dress she used to love. Me grinning like I had the world figured out just because I had her. She didn't say anything. Just closed the album and set it aside. Then she spoke. Do you think we could have made it if I'd been honest sooner? I blinked. Was she asking for closure? Forgiveness? I didn't know what she was fishing for, and I didn't care. I think I said slowly that you never gave us the chance. You made the decision. Alone. And now you want me to share the weight of it. She looked at me, mouth opening like she had a rebuttal ready. Then closed it. I continued, you lied, Madison. Repeatedly. You chose him. And now you're standing here asking if we could have made it. Her voice dropped. You were distant. You changed. I nodded. Yeah, I did. I changed when I realized I was in love with someone who was looking for the exit while I was still setting the table. She flinched at that. We finished packing in silence. She took 3 boxes. I let her keep the albums. I didn't want to remember us like that, 2 ghosts trying to pretend the past didn't already have a tombstone. As she walked away, she stopped by her car. I really did love you once, Ethan. I looked at her. Yeah, I said. But you didn't stay. And that's the part I'll remember. She got in and drove off. And for the first time since everything went to hell, I didn't feel like chasing anything. In the weeks that followed, I tried to rebuild something resembling a life. Not the old one that was dead and buried. I mean the kind of life that's scraped together from the aftermath. Waking up without that sick pull in your stomach. Going to the grocery store and not checking your phone every few minutes. Learning how to breathe without the background noise of her betrayal playing on loop in your head. I took a leave from work for a while. My boss didn't ask questions. Just gave me that knowing nod people give when they don't want to intrude but know something cracked you open. Joel let me stay longer than either of us expected. Said I could crash on the couch as long as I wanted. I think part of him was worried I'd crawl into myself and not come back out. What surprised me the most was how many people started talking once they knew we were done. Friends, coworkers, even casual acquaintances. One guy, Mike, from our gym, pulled me aside and said, man, I never wanted to say anything but I always thought something was off with her. Like she had a switch in her. Cold when she wanted to be. Another time, I bumped into her old friend Lily at a coffee shop. She didn't know we'd split. When I told her, her mouth fell open. You? I thought you were the solid ones. Madison always said you were boringly perfect. Like annoyingly faithful. Annoyingly faithful. Like that was a flaw. That phrase haunted me all day. I realized then Madison wasn't just unfaithful. She resented me for being dependable. For being there. For not making her chase me or suffer or wonder. She mistook peace for stagnation. Mistook loyalty for dullness. She wanted chaos dressed as passion. And Brent gave her that. Speaking of him, I saw him once. Total accident. I was getting gas. He pulled up on the other side of the pump in a too-tight polo shirt and mirrored sunglasses like some budget soap opera character. He didn't recognize me at first. I turned, stared at him, waited. When he finally looked up, he froze. There was a pause. Then he gave the smug little nod. Like we were in on the same joke. I didn't say a word. I just smiled. Because I knew something he didn't. He hadn't won anything. He'd inherited a liar. A manipulator. A woman who burned bridges and called it independence. A woman who couldn't sit still in something stable without itching for the exit. He didn't get the best of her, he got what was left after she tore down something that could have lasted forever. And I got freedom. Not the kind I asked for. Not the kind that comes with balloons and champagne and road trips. But the kind that slowly clears the fog. The kind that makes space. Space to think. Space to grieve. Space to become something again. That night I deleted her number. Not blocked. Not hidden. Just erased. Because I didn't need the temptation. Didn't need the maybe or the what if. She was gone. And for the first time I wasn't waiting at the door. Healing is strange. People tell you it's linear, like you move forward in steps, 1 foot in front of the other, a little stronger each day. But the truth is, it's more like a circle you keep walking until the pain dulls into background noise. Some mornings I woke up and felt almost normal. Other days I'd find an old receipt in a jacket pocket from a dinner we had last fall and it had knocked the wind out of me all over again. One Saturday I went back to the house. Not to see her, she'd moved out weeks ago. I had 30 days left on the lease and needed to clear the rest of my stuff. Most of it was furniture I didn't want anymore. But there was one box I'd left behind, a small one, duct-taped, tucked at the back of the closet. It had our wedding vows in it. I'd written mine in pen, 3 pages long. Hers were typed. Neatly formatted. Probably written days ahead, printed out, recited like a script. I don't know why I kept them. I sat on the floor, leaned against the wall we painted together one spring, and read them aloud. Hers first. I vow to choose you. Every day. Especially when it's hard. I laughed bitterly at that line. Because when it did get hard, when real life showed up with bills and exhaustion and dull routines, she didn't choose me. She chose Brent. Excitement. Escape. Anything but the man who stood next to her through it all. I lit the pages on fire in the fireplace. Watched them curl and blacken. Not because I needed revenge, but because I needed to let go of the script. We'd played the roles. Smiled for photos. Toasted at parties. But the performance ended long before the final curtain. I found more reminders of her in drawers. Hair ties. That dumb mug with the chips she refused to throw away. A grocery list in her handwriting, lemons, kale, oat milk. She once said those 3 things could keep a person alive forever. Not love, not trust. Just lemons, kale, and oat milk. I threw it all out. That night, I didn't go back to Joel's. I booked a cheap motel 2 towns over. No one knew me there. I needed a night alone, really alone. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling fan spinning slowly overhead. Everything felt still. Not good. Not bad. Just paused. Until my phone lit up. Unknown number. Curiosity got the better of me. I answered. A voice I didn't recognize at first. Ethan? I didn't say anything. It's Brent. The silence on my end must have told him enough. I just thought you should know. Madison, she's been talking to someone else. I sat up slowly. Why are you telling me this? Because, he said, and his voice cracked just a little, you were right. She doesn't stay. I didn't laugh. I didn't curse him. I didn't even feel vindicated. I just said, I know. Then I hung up. And for the first time, it wasn't pain I felt. It was relief. I didn't sleep much after that call. Not because I was upset. Not because I missed her. But because I was stunned at how empty I felt, not a void, not grief, just this vast, clear silence where heartbreak used to live. Brent's voice kept echoing in my mind. She's been talking to someone else. Of course she had. That was Madison's pattern, leap to the next branch before the one under her even starts to crack. She didn't believe in standing still. Didn't believe in rebuilding. She believed in replacements. And now Brent understood what I had the misfortune of learning first. I spent the next morning walking the shoreline near the motel. It was foggy, the ocean hidden behind a gray curtain. A seagull screamed into the wind and then vanished. That whole coastline felt like my brain, open, quiet, washed clean of illusions. I sat on a wet bench, sipped bad motel coffee, and thought about what came next. For so long, my identity had been tied to us. Ethan and Madison. The couple with plans. The couple who fought through things. The couple who'd last. But now? Now I was just Ethan. And I had to figure out if that was enough. When I got back to Joel's place, there was a letter waiting for me. Actual paper, envelope, her handwriting on the front. I almost threw it out. But I didn't. I opened it. It wasn't long. Ethan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I know I shattered everything. I'm not writing to justify. I just wanted to say, I hope you find someone who makes you feel chosen. I didn't do that. I see that now. I wanted too much from people who gave everything. I was unkind. I was careless. And you didn't deserve any of it. I hope this is the last time you have to hear from me. Be happy however you can. M. It was the most honest thing she'd said to me in a year. But it didn't change anything. She still made the choices. She still lit the match. But maybe, just maybe, this was her way of clearing the smoke. I didn't write back. What was there to say? Sometimes, the only closure you get is silence. And I was finally learning to live in it. Life didn't magically improve after the letter. There wasn't some cinematic sunrise or epiphany waiting just around the bend. But slowly, day by day, I started to feel something different. Space. Not emptiness, space. The kind you can grow in. I started running again. I hadn't in years. Madison used to hate it. Said it messed up her knees and gave her ugly ankles, whatever that meant. But I used to love it before I met her. So I picked it back up 1 mile at a time. It felt good to be out of breath for a reason that had nothing to do with heartbreak. I changed my number. Not out of spite. Just peace. I didn't want old threads dangling. Didn't want accidental texts or drunk dials or any chance for the past to crawl back in. I was done leaving open doors. Then came the first night I laughed. Really laughed. Joel and I were at some backyard cookout his friend was throwing. I didn't even want to go, but he dragged me along. Said, "You've been moaning like a haunted floorboard, man. Come eat a burger." There was a girl there. Not in that way, just someone's cousin from out of town. She told this ridiculous story about a cat that stole an entire rotisserie chicken off her neighbor's porch, and I laughed so hard I dropped my drink. I stopped mid-laugh, stunned at the sound coming out of me. Joel clapped me on the back and said, "There he is," and I realized he was right. I was still there, buried maybe, bruised, but alive. Later that night, I lay in bed thinking about Madison. Not in that longing, aching way, just reflecting. I thought about how she used to order the same drink at every bar. How she always triple-checked the locks before bed. How she could fall asleep in 5 minutes but take forever to wake up. I thought about how I had memorized a person who never actually existed the way I believed. That's the hardest part of healing, learning that the person you loved was just a projection. A version of them that lived only in your hope, not in reality. Madison wasn't a partner. She was a performance. And I had front row seats for 7 years. But the curtain had closed. The stage was empty, and I had walked out. Finally, it happened on a Thursday. I was leaving a bookstore, a place I hadn't visited since before the unraveling, when it hit me. Not a memory, not a trigger, just this quiet, unshakable clarity. I was free. Not the kind of freedom that feels like escape. Not the frantic, desperate scramble to start over. This was deeper, still, like sitting at the bottom of a lake and realizing you've finally stopped drowning. It had been nearly 4 months since the divorce papers were mailed. 3 since her last message. 1 since I threw out the last thing that reminded me of her. A chipped ceramic planter she bought and never once watered. That felt poetic, somehow. I hadn't thought about Brent since that gas station moment. I imagined his life was a repeating cycle now. Charm, thrill, infidelity, collapse. I didn't envy him, pitied him, because now I knew what it was like to wake up next to Madison and feel utterly alone. I stopped defining myself by what she did to me. I stopped needing her to answer for it. Some people will never apologize in the way we want. Some won't even see the damage they've done until it hits them the way it hit us. But by then, we've already left the building, swept up the pieces, rebuilt the walls, and locked the damn door. I looked back on it all. The lies, the whispers, the cold shoulder, the second phone, the hotel kiss, the smug dismissal, the silence that followed, and I didn't feel rage anymore. I felt wisdom. I learned things I never wanted to learn. I learned that love is not proof against betrayal, that loyalty is not a leash, that sometimes the person you trust most will set your world on fire and expect you to thank them for the light. And most importantly, I learned that surviving something like that doesn't make you broken. It makes you unbreakable. If you're reading this and you're where I was, staring at a phone, wondering if the truth is worse than the silence, let me tell you, it probably is. But knowing is better. Walking away is better. Starting over is better. And one day, not far from now, you'll wake up and realize you didn't lose them. You released yourself. Because the person who cheats, lies, gaslights, and dismisses you, they weren't your soulmate. They were the storm you had to survive to get to shore. And you made it. I made it. And from here, the view is nothing but open sky.